I'm back now. Alright, so now I've gone in and I've cleaned off the area right here, as you can see. The steel here has been thoroughly cleaned down all the way down. I've also re-tapped the threads on here, just simply to clean them out and everything. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to take our remaining piece of 4 gauge, I'm sorry, 0 gauge ground here, and we're going to attach it directly onto the non-painted body surface. Now what I have done is I've checked a couple things. This connector here is going to be mounted in the reverse. So as you can see, this is designed as a battery post connection, but it can also be used to be bolted onto a body surface or like a frame or something. It's just a multi-purpose type of connector here. So, but when I put it down on this plane here, on the surface of the connector on this side here, there's the barrel itself right here is slightly higher than comparison to the mounting surface. So I'm going to need a pair of washers to mate between this surface and the body surface itself. So we're going to make sure that those are the correct ones. Also, another thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to find yourself some bolts. Now luckily I happen to have tons of leftovers from other cars, which are usually very nice to keep around. But here I'm going to repurpose another bolt. This is probably out of a Honda or something, but it happens to have the length that I need. It also has a built-in washer on the top side here. This makes it really nice and easy for me for when I go to tighten this down. So it's really straightforward. All we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to put in the washers onto the surface. This way, like I said, what this ends up doing here is this gives us the same height from here. Actually, it's a little taller than this surface. This is really what I actually want it to be. I want this contact surface to be slightly higher than this contact surface, and that way we can maximize our performance. Alright, let's get this in place. And of course I'm doing this blindly. It's kind of hard for me to do this upside down. Let's see. There we go. Get this started. So get this straight. The aesthetics of it, are one thing. But I'm a stickler, I'm an old school wiring guy, so I like to have my stuff to line up correctly and look good, and so I'm going to make sure that I, all this straight. And of course, as I say, there we go. Alright, now we've got ourselves a properly wired body ground now. Okay. You can actually see, I don't know if you can actually see this in the video, but as I was tightening this down, I was actually flexing the steel here. That means I've got a very good contact point here going on. So the next main thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to spray this all with black paint and stuff. Now when you do this and stuff, any kind of black paint will be perfectly fine. You can also use rubberized paint. That would be also another thing. The main purpose of this is simply is that we want to mitigate the oxygen getting up underneath this connector here. We don't want oxygen down in this area, and the reason for it is because this is simply two dissimilar metals, and you will have corrosion. That is the point of corrosion. Period. End of story. And since this is a high current point, we want to make sure that we don't get any oxygen. We want this to always flow correctly. So here I'm going to get up underneath, and of course painting upside down doesn't never work. I'm just going to go ahead and let's get around here. I'm going to obviously paint a little broad just only just due to the fact that I'm just painting broad, that's all. But mainly what I want to do is want to get around that connector, especially on the top side and around the bottom. And I think that is, that looks good there. All right, so now we have ourselves a painted area, you know, for where the connector is done. You do a little cleanup. What's nice sometimes to have with you is what's called accessory. That is for when you're doing this painted. You don't, you know, like here in this case, you know, I've got this very nicely painted under hood here, and I want to make sure that I get all that overspray that I just had off. You never want to have that overspray on a show vehicle. So there we go. Alrighty, so so now what we have done, we now have 2 sets of grounds done. We have the body ground here done, and I'm going to do the motor ground, and I'll show you that one too in just a moment. Okay, all right, now what we're going to be doing here is we're working on the engine block ground point. What I have here is that I've gone through the block, looked at a couple different places in terms of good locations, and I found myself a really nice tab that's actually right here on it's part of the timing cover structure. And so I've gone through and I've double checked, you know, how this is all bolted together, and you know, between like the gasket, you know, that's here and stuff. And so I find that this is a very good location. It's got plenty of connections throughout the entire cover assembly. And so the first thing I'm going to do here is that even though this is aluminum and stuff, I want to still clean the tab itself. Now in this case, I'm just going to simply use a razor blade because this is already a pre-milled tab area. All I'm going to really need to do here is just simply more or less scuff the aluminum. So especially in the area where it's going to be bolted down. So I'm going to make it so that the mounting surface is again a flat surface. And so aluminum is relatively easy to do any kind of hand machining on, you know, any kind of like, I guess you'd call it machining and stuff like that. It's more or less what I'm doing. I'm making this into a parallel surface. So that way my contact point, again, is a solid contact point. Let's see what we got. There we go. And this is, razor blades are an amazing little toy that can be used for many things. There we go. All right, so there's a little bit of a pitting. You know, something obviously was attached to here at one point. There's a little bit of pitting up here. That can't be removed unless I actually mill this down. But overall, the entire contact surface here is now appropriate. So you know, it's what I need. So all right, next on we got to put on the bolt and nut. Again, you want to make sure all your surface areas that you're mounting to are clean. And this is going to be the easy one. I mean, you know, this is one of the nice things about these connectors is that they're nice and clean, nice and sturdy. Yeah, let me get this straight here. And you want to make sure you have good. There we go. So to make sure you have a good amount of pressure down on the bolt and stuff when you do this. But anyway, this is now the ground for the block itself. So we've now done 2 of the primary grounding points that we need to do. We've done the body ground, and now we've done the motor ground. Now remember, the point of this is that the reason why we want to have this is we need a central ground location. Now what the central ground location will be is actually the battery itself, because we're going to take the connector You know, we're going to take the ground connector here, and it has these two ground points here. And so we're going to bring these two central grounds, body and motor, here, and the like I said, the ground point in the battery becomes the kind of like the central position for all the ground. So everything's going to come to right here. All right, so now on to wiring up the battery. Oh, actually, I've already done, just so you know real quickly, I've already gone ahead and I've done the wiring for the alternator. I'm not going to do a video on it, just due to the fact that in this particular car, the alternator's on the bottom side. It literally was a nightmare to get to in this one. Now, and that doesn't normally, happen, but because this is a show vehicle and they removed a lot of the top components and locations and stuff, and the way that they rewired this engine block here, it makes it more difficult in this car. But in most cars and stuff like that, getting to the alternator is relatively an easy task. So, but I'll show you the end result, when we go to do the connections up at the battery location.